Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe represents one of the 7 natural wonders on Earth, and any visitor there will agree with that designation. A most remarkable characteristic of the falls is that it displays a vastly different aspect in the wet season than in the dry season, and the view will also change greatly between sunrise and sunset. The natives named the falls Moshi Otunya, that is the smoke that thunders, while the first Europeans, viewing it from a great distance, believed that the vast amount of spray and water vapor was actually smoke, the indication of a forest fire. The scene shows the falls of the Zambezi River during the dry season, when the water vapor creates an impressive rainbow, and the bridge leading to Zimbabwe is also visible. During the height of the wet season, it is not possible to view or photograph the falls proper, as the huge amounts of water vapor drenches everything to 50 yards or more, especially on a windy day. The illustration here shows my friend standing on the Zambian side of the falls during the dry season. The falls is always viewed from the Zambian side, as the impressive mass of water could not be well seen from Zimbabwe. The average tourist will be guided so that all will return safely, but an individual is free to risk his life on sliding down to the crocodiles waiting further below. The view above the falls during the dry season, some 200 yards upstream, is rather unimpressive, and tourist boats cruise the water there as a lead-up to the actual giant cataracts. The tourist trade is all important, and the access to the falls through Livingstone is easy by cars or even taking the train, then a local means of transport. The view of the falls is most romantic during the evening hours when approaching from above. During the height of the dry season, one willing to take a bit of risk may actually wade close to the edge of the falls, though it is not recommended, as in the case of a slip, there is absolutely no way to save the soul departing for eternity. This view is taken very close to the edge at sunset, as I was willing to take a chance in order to show how brave or foolish I was. African scenes tend to challenge the individual to show off, but for a safe return it is better not to go too far. In this scene, I am sitting at the edge of the falls during the dry season, contemplating a possible drop to the nether world. The bottom of the falls is some 300 feet straight down, and with the initial drop, a painless death is guaranteed. So far, no fool attempted to go over the falls in a barrel, as they did at Niagara Falls. It is a one-way ticket. The falls have been named after the missionary Livingstone, who spent more than 20 years in tropical Africa, presumably to convert the natives, but also investigating commercial possibilities for the British Empire. The rock wall of the falls is relatively uneven, with large blocks breaking off and falling down, especially during the height of the wet season. Here and there, some vegetation clings to the rocks, drenched constantly, but surviving somehow. But there are no birds or other wildlife around the falls, only away upstream or downstream. Looking towards Zimbabwe illustrates the width of the main channel, which will narrow considerably further down. In spite of the huge mass of water during the wet season, the falls recede only very slowly, and remarkably very little debris, that is trees or large bushes, are swept over, hence the bottom is solid rock. At the height of the dry season, very little water flows over the falls, hence visitors may be greatly disappointed, but the size and depth of the rock fissure is more impressive, as when most of it is covered by a heavy flow of water. The view shows clearly the part of the spectacular break in the rock looking towards Zimbabwe, where the channel will narrow due partly to the water decelerating after the fall. The railroad has been built after World War I, but traffic between Zambia and Zimbabwe is slight due to a variety of reasons. The scene here shows the very bottom of the falls at low water, and the volume appears to be rather insignificant when compared to the rather steady year-round flow of Niagara Falls. But in spite of that, the view and the surrounding area are far more spectacular, and one will be greatly impressed by the landscape. Remarkably, most of southern Africa is represented by a plateau of between 1,500 to 3,000 feet elevation, generally with rather level topography, where travel on land may be rather easy provided there are roads. But major rivers represent an obstacle with very few bridges, and crossing by a dugout canoe or so may prove to be hazardous due to hippos and crocodiles.